Jesus said,
"Love your neighbor as yourself." But who's your neighbor?
What does it mean to love?
Jesus shows us what it means to love.
to will the good of the other, to give them a helping hand. The annual Catholic Appeal is the love of Christ in action. Your generous donations provide hot meals, warm clothes, comfort, healing, and light in what can sometimes be a person's darkest hour. Jesus gives himself to us in the Eucharist, and we are to receive him and take him out into the world, to transform the world. Be a part of that transformation by supporting the annual Catholic Appeal. With your donations and your prayers, hearts will be touched, lives will be changed, transformed actually, in Christ.
Transformed in Christ, helping all in need. Please consider supporting the 2022 Annual Catholic Appeal.
Coming up on this edition of Reel to Reel.
I'm Rebecca Drake. I'll introduce you to a local Catholic businessman and a parish priest who followed their faith to the Ukrainian border to care for refugees.
Witness Wednesdays that you can find on your phone are helping us understand the year of the Eucharist. I'm Carolee McGrath. I'll have the story coming up.
And Steve Kiltonick wraps up his series on local food pantries with a look at how Providence Ministries in Holyoke is working to aid folks with food insecurity. This and more are coming up for you next on Reel to Reel. Hello and welcome to Reel as we bid farewell to March. Sadly, a month in which the world has witnessed the horrific scenes of the war in Ukraine and the millions of people fleeing their homeland. But when a local Catholic businessman and his pastor traveled to Poland to help the refugees, they witnessed moments of light amid the darkness of war. Rebecca Drake has this story now of faith, hope, and Kinder eggs.
Paul Kozub had been to Poland 60 times before, but this time his 61st trip would be different.
Paul Kozub, V1 Vodka. I'm here in Dorohutsk, Poland, right on the Ukrainian border.
It was just something I felt compelled to do, like I didn't really have a choice. I just felt the need to be there.
The founder and owner of Hadley-based Valley Vodka, Kozub traveled with Father Piotr Pavlus, pastor of Most Holy Redeemer Parish, also in Hadley. Just days after the start of the war in Ukraine, the two brought monetary donations, their hands, and their hearts to eastern Poland to aid refugees at the border.
A couple of days before, there was a beautiful gospel about saying, I was hungry and you give me food. I was thirsty, you give me a drink. So we decided with Paul, okay, let us not just do the talk, but also do the walk.
Being an entrepreneur, if you want to get something done, you do it yourself. So donating to a Ukrainian charity is a tremendous thing, and so many people are doing it. But I wanted to put my faith into action and go right to the border and hand out money and at least give some joy to these people that were experiencing a tremendous amount of sadness and loss and devastation in their life.
Like the rest of the world, the two men had seen media images of the death, destruction, and fleeing refugees. Still, they were deeply saddened by what they saw at the Ukrainian border, about 100 miles from Kozub's vodka distillery in Kamień, Poland.
From one hand, you see that terrible evil that is happening to the people. They are suffering, they're being displaced, their house being destroyed, the Russian soldiers, doing bad things. So they run to Poland not because they want to, because they have to.
Along with the heartbreaking scenes of refugees fleeing the war, Father Pavlus and Kozub saw something even greater, the will of the Ukrainian people.
I think they're a very proud people of their country. I think that's one of the things that was underestimated by the Russians and Vladimir Putin, that they're very proud to be Ukrainian. They want to be independent.
That they are fighters in the sense of they know what's right, what's wrong, and they are ready to fight it.
Father Pavlus says the refugees, who are mostly women and children, are worried about their husbands, fathers, and sons who remain in Ukraine. But they stay strong.
they are people of hope. They say like, okay, this will be over soon. We are here temporary. We are not here to stay. We'd like to come back to our countries. But they share the same values that we do. People of hope, people of faith, but also people that are fighting. Their spirit won't be broken, and that's very important. And they looking to us, the Western countries, to help them out.
While on their own mission to help the refugees, the men were inspired by the help provided by people from throughout the world, taking the form of things as large as ambulances and generators and as small as a Kinder egg.
First thing they receive at the border is like warm welcome. There's a hot meal waiting for them, people cooking, providing them with the food. Then they walk, there's a hot tea, coffee, the kids getting sweetness, the like Paul was holding them, giving them the Kinder, the eggs which surprise them. You could give them $1 million and it will be probably less happy than having the chocolate.
As the father of 4 small children, ages 8 and under, Kozub was especially moved by the plight of the Ukrainian children. He also knows something about the popularity of Kinder eggs.
My kids love Kinder eggs, and so it was one of the things I received a tremendous donation from individuals, but also People's Bank here in Western Mass sent me while I was there $4,000 through Venmo. So literally I said, I'm going to go to the store, buy candy bars and Kinder eggs and hand them out to kids at the border.
In spite of the suffering they saw, the men returned home with hope and gratitude.
Truly what we learn in our faith about giving is so much better than receiving. To give, and have the opportunity to do that was a tremendous thing in my life, and it really changed it forever.
As hard it was to see, all that suffering, it was the trip of hope. The hope that, for me, saying that God will be victorious, the evil will be overcoming, and all the things will be better. With our faith increasing, and good things will be happening. And I would say never give up, and never give up in support, prayer, and hope in God.
An Easter message for Ukraine and all who seek peace in the world. For Real to Real, I'm Rebecca Drake.
What a great humanitarian effort, and we should note that Paul Kozub will donate $1 from every bottle of his V1 products to this continuing need. You can read more about Paul and Father Paulus's effort in the upcoming Easter edition of the Catholic Mirror. Watch for that in your mailboxes in mid-April. And this past Friday, Bishop Burns celebrated the 12:10 midday Mass at St. Michael's Cathedral, joining with Pope Francis, who at that very same moment was leading a worldwide consecration of Ukraine and Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. You can also make your donation to Ukrainian relief efforts through Catholic Relief Services. We have a link on our website at iobserve.org. And still to come on this edition of Real to Real, Dan Dumas takes a look at what's been happening around the Diocese of Springfield. And the last in a 4-part series exploring how food pantries in Western Massachusetts help those with food insecurity. All still ahead on Real to Real.
Like Catholic TV on Facebook. Once you're there, you can join in on discussions, make friends with other Catholic TV fans, watch behind-the-scenes videos from the studio, and stay up to date with the Catholic world. All this at facebook.com/CatholicTV.
Pope Francis wants to hear from you. The Holy Father has invited the Universal Catholic Church, including our diocese here in Springfield, to gather and reflect on communion, participation, and mission within the Church and society as a whole. Join our neighbors and parishioners here in Western Massachusetts in this consultation and dialogue process. Sessions will be held throughout Western Massachusetts during March and April, but volunteers are needed to help organize and facilitate. You can learn more by logging into diospringfield.org/synod. There you will find a calendar listing upcoming information sessions, trainings, and actual consultations. You can also contact the Diocese Synod team directly at synod, S-Y-N-O-D, at diospringfield.org, or by calling 413-452-0571. Share your thoughts and participate in this global dialogue and consultation. The Pope needs you, and so do I, to hear what people have to say.
I'm Dan Dumas with your Reel to Reel news briefs. The much anticipated Holyoke St. Patrick's Day Parade events returned last weekend after a 2-year hiatus due to the pandemic, including the road race. Once again, Mater Dolorosa School played a key role in pre-race activities. Steve Kiltonick tells us more.
On March 19th, after a 2-year hiatus because of the pandemic, the St. Patrick's Holyoke Road Race returned to the streets of the Paper City for the 45th year. Across the parking lot from the starting line, about 30 volunteers from the Mater Dolorosa School, 15 students and 15 adults, help the runners check in before the race inside the school gymnasium. It's also a place the runners can relax and even grab a pre-race protein bar or Gatorade. Volunteers also work the parking lots. The school has partnered with the Holyoke Road Race Committee for about 9 years.
We are thrilled to be back after 3 years. It was a long road. The community has missed this event tremendously. I think it's pretty evident when you look around how excited people are to be back doing what we do every year.
The students' job is to take the runners' bags with their personal belongings and bib numbers and put it in an appropriate area on the gym floor for safekeeping until the race is over.
There are high-energy runners. They run the bags back and forth to all their spots to make sure everything gets where it needs to be and doesn't get lost.
This is Principal Eileen Yakum's first road race.
The whole community, the families, the students, we're like one big family. And I just see everybody like all dressed up, and it's just filled with energy and excitement.
Raymond is a first-year volunteer.
I decided to volunteer to help out with the community and help out my school. I am running the bags for the racers and organizing it so they could get their bags later.
I really like volunteering because it's really fun and it's cool to meet new people.
This is also Eliza's first year.
It's been fun, especially after the 2 years that we can't do anything.
Matthew is with a group of Mater Dolorosa alumni.
I feel like I owe it to the school. Like, they did so much for me that working here for the school and just helping out where I can is just beneficial to them and keeping on the process so they can help more kids.
All proceeds from the race go toward the school PTO to fund things like field trips, family fun nights, and classroom supplies.
Just try and make sure that every single dollar that we get goes right back to the kids and the students and the staff.
Volunteering is Bilecki's way to give back to Mater Dolorosa and the community.
It feels good to help the community and be involved in the road race that way because the road race is such an iconic event in this city. And, I'm from Holyoke, and this is what you do. You show up for St. Patrick's Week.
In Holyoke, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
A great effort. And another piece of St. Patrick's Parade news, Bishop William Byrne and his trusty sidekick Zelly made their maiden voyage down the streets of Holyoke for this festive weekend. Among those they caught up with was the 2020 JFK Award winner David Glidden and his family. Glidden is a proud product of Catholic schools, graduating in 1979 from Holyoke Catholic High School. In other news, religious education directors gathered for an annual Lenten retreat last week, finding inspiration through the theme for the day, the vastness and the unity of God. Carolee McGrath has the story.
The day began with prayer for directors of religious education from throughout the Diocese of Springfield as they gathered at St. Michael's Cathedral for the annual Lenten retreat. It was an opportunity for those who teach the faith to be renewed themselves and inspired. The theme, the vastness and the unity of the kingdom of God. Celeste Labby is the director of the Office of Faith Formation for the diocese.
It gives our catechists and our faith formation leaders an opportunity to take a break from the busyness of these seasons in their ministry and really reflect on what it is these seasons mean to us.
And it is a busy season for religious education, with Easter followed by First Communions and Confirmations. Kelly O'Connor is the Director of Religious Ed for Blessed Sacrament Parish in Holyoke and St. Patrick Parish in South Hadley.
We do so much in the parish for the kids, for the adults, and we forget about taking care of us. So this gives us an opportunity to take care of us spiritually, mentally.
The pandemic certainly made the job more difficult, as people were initially isolated and later, in many cases, scared to return to church. But O'Connor says better days are ahead.
2 years we've dealt with, teaching the kids with masks on and the inconsistencies of our years. We're in classes, we're out of classes. Mine, unfortunately, we had to go online for a time frame, with COVID. And it's awakening now. Everything's awakening.
The retreat concluded with Mass in the cathedral and a luncheon, which followed in the Bishop Marshall Center. In Springfield, I'm Carolee McGrath.
And taking place in Tyringham last weekend, also on the Feast of St. Joseph, Bishop William Byrne participated in celebrating and witnessing the reception of solemn vows of Sister Margaret Joseph Armstrong as a visitation sister. We wish her the very best in her vocation. You could read more on this wonderful event at iobserve.org, where you can always stay informed on all the latest news in the Catholic Church locally and beyond. You can also find articles from our Catholic communication staff, as well as on-demand episodes of Real to Real. That's iobserve.org. I'm Dan Dumas, and those were your Real to Real news briefs.
You are watching Real to Real, your window on the world around you. Here again is your Real to Real host, Sharon Rulier.
We've been hearing a lot about the Year of the Eucharist, which began in November. One way to help engage people is through the use of social media. And the Year of the Eucharist Committee has been presenting personal testimonies called Witness Wednesdays, in which people share what the Eucharist means in their life. Carolee McGrath has more.
Francisca Walmawa attends daily Mass at Holy Name Parish in Springfield. The mother and grandmother attends Eucharistic adoration as often as she can. She says she could spend hours adoring our Lord. Why? Well, Francisca shared why in a Witness Wednesday testimony recently on social media and on the Year of the Eucharist website. Witness Wednesday is an initiative of the Year of the Eucharist, which began last November. Francisca grew up in Kenya and is a convert to Catholicism. When her sister and brother were sent to a Catholic boarding school, she says she was drawn to the faith.
When they came home for holidays, I used to accompany them to church on Sundays. And I used to admire them so much when I saw them receiving the Holy Eucharist. I didn't know what it was, although they tried to explain to me, but it was like a miracle to me.
Each week, a different person from across the Diocese of Springfield, including Father Stanislaus Achu, the parochial vicar at Holy Name, shares what the Eucharist means in his or her life. The idea is to inspire people to dig deeper and to cultivate a love of the Eucharist, Christ's body, blood, soul, and divinity.
I grew so fond of the Eucharist. I couldn't even, there's no Sunday I miss church, or when I'm in school, there's no day I miss Mass. And the reason being that I know that God is there in that Eucharist, and God is in the church, and that's the only way I can be close to Him.
The reality is only 30% of Catholics believe in the true presence of Jesus in the Eucharist. The other 70% think that the bread and wine are just symbols, according to a Pew Research study. But these Witness Wednesdays that you can find on your phone of everyday people might give you pause to think that maybe, even though it's hard to conceive, that Jesus is really with us and that He's really with us in the Eucharist. Witness Wednesdays also include amazing Eucharistic miracles, which document inexplicable instances in which human blood and flesh have been detected in the Eucharist around the world. Father Gary Daly, the chair of the Year of the Eucharist Committee and director of the Newman Catholic Center at UMass, brings us those amazing miracles.
Their investigation showed
that the flesh of the host was human.
And some of the Witness Wednesdays are just stories of everyday life, detours that made us wander until a prayer or an encounter rerouted us back. Francisca prays more people will come to realize what they've been missing all this time.
If they come to know and love Jesus in the Eucharist, they will never look back, because there's nothing out there. Whatever you do, there's nothing in the world that you can say is better than being in the presence of God.
Bishop Byrne has extended the year of the Eucharist to June of 2023 on the Feast of Corpus Christi. All are invited to share their Eucharistic stories to keep Witness Wednesdays going. Reporting for Reel to Reel, I'm Carolee McGrath.
We invite you to follow us on Instagram and on Facebook so you can catch these Witness Wednesdays. You can find the link to the Year of the Eucharist site with videos, events, and more at iobserve.org. And finally, today we conclude our series on the annual Catholic Appeal-funded food pantries. Today, Steve Kiltonick visits Providence Ministries for the Needy in Holyoke. This agency, a fixture in the city for more than 4 decades, provides life's basic needs, clothing, shelter, and food through Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry.
Nourishing hope, rebuilding lives is the phrase that describes the mission of Providence Ministries for the Needy, which operates Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry. Since 1980, Kate's Kitchen has been serving nutritious noontime meals 7 days a week, 365 days a year to anyone in the community with a no questions asked policy. During the pandemic, food distribution was changed to to-go style bags, which were handed out at the entrance door. Margaret's Pantry, named after its foundress, Sister Margaret McQuarrie, offers free food to families in need from Holyoke and neighboring communities.
We rely very heavily on our community partners and people who support us, like Annual Catholic Appeal, Western Mass Food Bank, and a lot of really generous community members, just regular people that want to make a difference by sending in a check.
According to Adamczyk, the need for food increased dramatically with the onset of the pandemic.
So we serve about 200 people a week on average, can go up to 240 a week through Kate's Kitchen. And we have given out over 1.8 million pounds of food from the food pantry. So those numbers were in the 1.3 million range. And so for us to increase that much shows the need that there is for people to access food.
Kate's Kitchen closed its dining room when COVID hit. It reopened briefly, then was suspended again last April.
And we don't want that to be the case. We don't want anyone to ever have to make a choice between feeding a child or feeding a parent or a spouse or themselves and keeping their electricity on or keeping a roof over their head. So we're trying to fill that gap for people so that they can still have a great quality of life without having to make those decisions that are so hard.
Mike Nowak is the instructor for the Food Works program, which teaches culinary fundamentals to those facing barriers to employment. The goal is to give them the skills needed to get a job.
We rely on the donations of people in the community, as well as the Western Mass Food Bank provides us plenty of great food. We serve a hot meal every day. Today we're doing baked chicken, tomorrow we're doing chopped suey. So we do serve a lot of comfort foods here, especially great in the wintertime when people are cold and they just want a nice hot meal to remind them of home.
Food is distributed every day outside the doors from noon until 2, Monday through Friday, with sandwiches served on weekends. With a minimal staff, Kate's relies heavily on its regular volunteer crew, as well as volunteers from Sunshine Village, local businesses, and students from Holyoke. In the kitchen are 2 of the regular staffers, Maribel Gonzalez and Oscar Page, who on this day are cooking up pork and beans. Waiting outside for the meals are various people from the local neighborhoods.
We have a mix of everybody who comes. We have some older people who maybe just don't want to cook for themselves anymore. We've got families in the neighborhood. Maybe they have children. Sometimes they'll come with their children. Sometimes they bring the meals home to them. So it's a mix of everybody.
The meals are packaged ahead of time by volunteers like Albert Fulton, who works here 5 days a week. He lives upstairs in Loretto House, which is an 18-month transitional housing program for men in recovery. Across the parking lot is Margaret's Pantry. Brenda LaMagdalene has been the pantry manager for 16 years. Margaret's is a full-service pantry that provides food to residents of the greater Holyoke area, except for Springfield. Throughout the pandemic, Margaret's Pantry remained open. As with Kate's Kitchen, the number of people visiting the pantry skyrocketed.
Astronomical. The numbers have, they slowed down a little bit since when the COVID first hit us last year, but our numbers are still maintaining pretty high numbers.
1.8 million pounds of food was given out by the pantry in 2020. The shelves are fully stocked throughout the year because of the dedicated donors and individuals. When the pandemic started, donations from churches and individuals stopped. But the Western Mass Food Bank, which Brenda said is the backbone of the program, stepped up at a critical time.
Our donors are great. The Western Mass Food Bank is excellent. We're really getting quite a bit of food in. Also, cash donations and check donations. Those are always helpful, too, to be able to buy food.
The pantry is open Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. till noon. There's a simple process to obtain food.
They just need to show proof of address of where they're living, and then proof of having people in the house. And they get about 75 pounds per person per family member.
Well, Magdalene is also in charge of the mobile food bank, which travels around Holyoke to distribute food at various sites on the last Saturday of each month. The food bank serves many working families who can't make it downtown to the pantry during the week. Over 300 boxes of assorted food are handed out at each location. Every box contains 50 pounds of food, including meat, produce, and milk when available. And the truck always comes home empty.
I love my community. I love everything that I do. I just like helping people and being there for people when they're in need.
Kate's Kitchen and Margaret's Pantry, two ministries people can always rely on to be there in times of need.
I would love to be able to say that these programs would stop. That would be a phenomenal thing. That would mean everybody had food that needed it, but the reality is there are probably always going to be people in need. And what's important for me and for our staff here is that we find a way to meet that need and that we do it with compassion and with dignity for the people that we're serving. And I think that if we all do that, then you can't lose.
With funding from the annual Catholic Appeal, the food pantries across the Springfield Diocese will continue in their fight to eradicate hunger across Western Massachusetts. For Real to Real, I'm Steve Kiltonick.
And Steve tells us that after 2 years of being closed because of the pandemic, the dining room at Kate's Kitchen is scheduled to reopen to the public on April 1st. And after a winter hiatus, the mobile food bank will be back on the road again sometime in April. For more information on the mobile distribution sites, we have a link for you at iobserve.org. And remember, you can help Providence Ministries and 40 other life-affirming ministries and agencies through your gift to the 2022 Annual Catholic Appeal. In making your donation, you can feel confident that it will help your neighbors here in Western Massachusetts. And we here on Real to Real thank you so much in a special way, as we are also recipients of your generosity to the Annual Catholic Appeal. To make your 2022 gift, you can find a secure online donation site at diospringfield.org. And you can also call Kathy Harrington to make your gift on the phone. Call 413-452-0630. And we all thank you in advance for your generous gift. Every dollar counts, so please make your donation today. For this week, that's Real to Real. Thank you so much for watching. And a reminder that the next 40 Hours Devotion celebration for the Year of the Eucharist is coming up March 31st through April 3rd at St. Francis of Assisi Church in Belchertown. The 4-day event will include exposition of the Blessed Sacrament, recitation of the Rosary, and Eucharistic procession. For more information, we have a link for you at iobserve.org, where you can also follow the latest news we have on the Catholic Church in the Diocese of Springfield and around the world. We have it all for you at iobserve.org and on Facebook at Catholic Communications. I'll see you right back here next week at this same time for Real to Real, your window on the world around you. See you then.
Real to Real is a production of the Catholic Communications Corporation, funded in part by the Annual Catholic Appeal, and the support of you, our faithful viewers.